The main shortcoming of the 2020 Abraham Accords is that they really did not fundamentally deal or wrestle with the issue of the Palestinians. The Abraham Accords signed 5 years ago in 2020 were the most important step for Arab-Israeli relations in a quarter century. They also represent the most important achievement of the Trump administration in his first term in office. This was a series of bilateral deals between Israel and the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, and Morocco. There was a fourth deal on the table with Sudan that collapsed in part because of turmoil inside of Sudan and a shift in the regional dynamic. They were called the Abraham Accords because of the shared religious traditions of Judaism, Islam, and Christianity. The most important impact was the shift in the strategic dynamics in the region. These were countries that had relations behind closed doors and worked cooperatively on mostly security issues. And they essentially came out into the public with normalized relations. And the main impact is that it actually shifted the regional landscape, isolated Iran and its axis of resistance. The hope at the time was that this would lead to more normalization accord that would lead to greater regional integration, but those hopes have not been achieved 5 years later. The United States is extremely interested in sustaining these accords and expanding them for a number of reasons. Number one, the United States, after more than 20 years of a deep military involvement in places like Iraq and the broader region, wants to see its partners to actually work closely together to secure their own interests. The United States has many problems at home, challenges around the world with Russia and China, and they see a strategic benefit. Both the Trump administration, the Biden administration, Democrats and Republicans have been largely supportive of these efforts to expand the Abraham Accords. Another sort of benefit has been related to the economic sphere. As we see in the second Trump administration and President Trump's first visit to the Middle East in his second term, he went to Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the UAE, one of those countries signatory to the Abraham Accords, in large part to see if we could actually build stronger economic ties in the region. All of these things have not actually achieved their full potential for one main reason: the lack of progress and, in fact, the backward movement on the Israel-Palestine question. They were motivated in part by an effort of the Israeli government at the time to annex parts of the West Bank, which is a territory where more than 3 million Palestinians live, under occupation and under a form of limited Palestinian Authority self-rule. That issue, plus the status of Gaza, and the status of Gaza has become even more complicated after nearly 2 years of war between Israel and Hamas. That's the major stumbling block. And without any major pathway forward to deal with the Palestinian question, both in the West Bank and Gaza, and I would add East Jerusalem as well, where more than 300,000 Palestinians live, you're not likely to see major steps forward. And in fact, in recent months, with the actions of the Israeli government, including the strike against Hamas officials in Qatar, which is a major non-NATO ally, this has created all sorts of unpredictable tensions within the region and will likely strain the Abraham Accords. Israel increasingly is seen by many Arab leaders, and not just the public, as the major destabilizing force in the region, so much so that there's even concern that it's so unpredictable and even more unpredictable than Iran, according to some. So that's the key ingredient that's missing. It's extremists inside of the Israeli government system, but it's also extremists in the region who actually oppose progress and have used force and violence from preventing progress from moving forward. So I think that's a major challenge, but I don't think it'll break it because the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, and Morocco see strategic benefit, economic benefit, security benefit coming from those accords. These Abraham Accords will not be broken, they'll be bent, but I think they'll stay in place, but they won't expand in any way until there's progress on the Palestinian question. What I think we're seeing unfold here is the start of a movement among Arab governments, some which have relations with Israel today, and some like Saudi Arabia or Qatar which don't, that are seeking to use their diplomatic leverage to shape the conversation inside of Israel in a different direction on the Palestinian question. The key issue is you cannot build these accords like Israel has built roads for settlers in the West Bank that try to bypass the Palestinian question. You actually need to deal with it and recognize that there are millions of Palestinians who are simply not going anywhere. And I think the biggest prize in all of this, of course, is Saudi Arabia. And everything that we've heard from Saudi officials is that they're not going to move unless there's a serious step forward in producing a two-state solution. This is why Saudi Arabia has partnered with France in this discussion at the United Nations to try to push this forward in their own way. And that diplomatic push has provoked a reaction, a negative one, from the Trump administration and from Israel. And it shows you actually the limits, again, of how far trying to work around the Palestinians and ignore their issues will go. And it just won't go anywhere without significant concessions on the part of the Israeli government that acknowledge the right of Palestinians to their land.